So a few weeks ago, my cousin gave birth to her baby Grayson, and as a photographer, I felt like it was my job to go around and get some nice pictures for her. And that is exactly what I did. It was the first time I'd ever done baby pictures. I must admit I was a little bit nervous, a little bit worried as well, because I'd really never done it before. And I'm not really a baby person. Like, someone tries to hand me their baby and I don't really know what to do. I'm kind of just like, ugh. I just don't really know how to act around babies, and I'm sure there's, you know, a lot of people like that. I didn't want that to get in the way of these pictures, but I think I did a pretty good job. You know, here's some of the pictures I took, and yeah, I think they came out really nice. But in this video, I'm going to be going through some sort of tips and also going through the gear that I used during the shoot, because I think it's going to be really useful for people, especially if you've never done baby photos before, because obviously, like I said, it can be quite intimidating. There's a lot of things you need to think about, a lot of things you need to not worry about as well, and I'm going to go into that in this video. So firstly, let's go through the kit that I used. I used my trusty Canon 5D Mark III, which I bought a couple of years ago. I used to shoot on a Canon 550D, and that was like my go-to for years and years and years until I decided to upgrade to full frame. I will never go back, and I might cover that in another video why, but this camera has been an absolute beast for me. It's just so robust, so solid. I can use it in almost any situation. This is a great camera, and you can pick these up super cheap now. So this doesn't really matter. This isn't going to make your baby pictures perfect, and anyone, you know, that's any decent at photography will tell you it's the lenses that matter, but this is a great body and it enabled me to take some really good shots. Next piece of gear. Extension tubes. Now this may seem like an odd one, but macro extension tubes can really get you close to your subject. And if you look at this photo now, I used the 50mm 1.4 on a macro extension tube, and that enabled me to get really close and focus in on the eye almost perfectly. It is really hard, and you do need a really steady hand, but for me, this was really a must-have. Without this, I wouldn't have been able to get these super close shots, and for me, these shots bring you really close to the baby, really make you feel something, and well, I'm a big fan of macro photography anyway, and although this isn't macro per se, this is still a lot closer than you would get with the standard 50mm 1.4. Which brings me on to the lenses. So for this shoot, all I used was the 50mm 1.4, and I think this is a brilliant lens. It's a little bit of a step up from the 1.8, the nifty 50 that everybody should definitely own. This produces amazing results, and you know, it's tack sharp. It's super sharp. You're not going to regret getting this lens if you haven't already. The other lens I used, just for a bit more versatility, was the 24-70 2.8 L lens. This is the Mark 1. I've had no reason to upgrade to the Mark II. This works perfect for me. It enables you to go pretty wide, full frame, and then to 70mm you can get some really close shots. Obviously, the more zoomed in you are, you're going to get some really nice bokeh and depth of field. So this is a great lens. And again, with the macro extension tubes, you can get even closer and some even better depth of field. So definitely worth having. Now, if you don't have this lens, I definitely recommend renting it and trying it out. It is a great lens for Canon cameras or anything else. You know, I use this on my GH5, and in fact, I'm going to do a video in the future about what EF lenses I use on my GH5 and why I use EF lenses on my GH5. But this is a great lens. It's a great walkabout lens. It's great for portraits. It's great for landscapes. If you don't have this, seriously, go get it. You can pick up the Mark 1 pretty cheap now as well, so check this out. Now, I also used the Samyang 14mm for like 2 shots, I think. But that's on my camera at the moment. I'll cut in some B-roll and you will see what this lens is. It's a spherical lens, super wide angle, enables you to get some really weird shots. So this is also a lens I use, again, really sharp, much cheaper than the Canon 14mm equivalent, but this is also a great lens. The last piece of gear I used was a flash. Now this is the newer flash that is like £20 on Amazon or something. It's super cheap, but it is a great flash, and honestly, it's something that if you don't have in your kit bag, you should get one. I'll link it down below. This is perfect for almost any shoot, and it is super bright. So if I turn this up all the way on the brightest, you'll get an idea of how bright this really is. Maybe you will, I don't know, probably not. It's probably just broke my sensor or something. The one thing I will say is make sure the flash isn't too bright. This is a baby, eyes are sensitive, and it may get like annoyed at the fact you're flashing it in the face all the time. Luckily, with my shoot with Grayson, the shoot went super well. Like, no crying, no fidgeting, it was really easy, but I'm gonna go into why I think that is in a minute. This is the TT520 Speedlight, super affordable. I did a review on this years ago, but this is a great flash. Definitely pick it up. Great for portraits, great for even landscapes if you want to highlight a foreground and you're doing some night photography. Definitely, again, worth checking out. So that's all the gear, but let's go into why I think the shoot went well and my kind of top tips. So there's 5 top tips, and hopefully you'll find these useful. Now, tip number 1 is to use a flash. Now, I know I just went over the flash in my sort of kit bag, but honestly, get a flash. I did actually take continuous lighting to the shoot, you know, great big lights that I thought would be great. But the thing is, the amount of times we moved Grayson around, it really would have just been annoying to have to set up the lights again in different positions to make sure it was right. With a flash, you can adjust it on camera. You can even take it off camera if you have a wireless setup. Super easy to use, you know, dial in the settings to what you need, experiment with it a bit. Of course, sometimes you're going to shoot and it'll be a complete miss and you'll underexpose it or overexpose it. But there's a lot you can do with RAWs in Lightroom to sort those levels out. It got some really nice soft lighting in the eyes, in the pupils. That's really nice. You really want to bring, you know, someone to life with a bit of light in the eyes. Now, the one thing I always think with portrait photography is you do need that eye light. If you don't get the eye light, it just makes an image look really flat. It doesn't make the image feel alive. This flash, or any flash really, will enable that as long as you get it in the right kind of place. So I definitely recommend a flash. Tip number 2 is make sure the baby is familiar with you. Now, this could be a relative, it could be a completely random baby. The thing is, you need to be comfortable with the baby. You need to be comfortable with the parents. You need to feel like you can take photos of the baby without feeling awkward or weird, or the parents feeling weird. You need to be able to get close to it. You need to be able to stick the camera right in its face and it not kind of sit there and think, what are you doing? You know, you need to be able to get close and you need to get the best shots. Now, if the baby isn't comfortable with you, you risk it crying, you risk it just not being interested. You know, you build a bit of a bond with the baby. Maybe this could mean sitting down with the baby and the parents before you do the shoot, a couple of days before or a week before. Get to know it, play with it a little bit, you know, play with its toys so it knows you're not some stranger. That's going to be really important. And I feel for my shoot, that's why this went really well. Grayson recognised me from various times I'd seen him already, and he knew that I wasn't like a threat. He knew I was, you know, someone familiar. So I think that's really important. So tip number 3 would be to shoot in a comfortable environment. Now, I know a lot of people do baby shots in their studios or somewhere like that. Now, I'm personally not really a studio kind of guy. I like to shoot in the home, places where the baby is comfortable, places where it actually means something to whoever's being photographed. You know, you hand the clients, in my case, you know, my cousin and her boyfriend, you hand them the pictures and it's of their home, it's of somewhere they know, it's recognisable, it means something. You shoot in a studio and it just has, for me anyway, a lot of studio shots just feel very cold, they don't feel very attached to anything. For me, it just takes away from that homely environment that you want to convey in your images. Plus, as well, the one thing that's good about shooting in a familiar place is you're likely to have stuff that you can use and utilise in the images. So if you take a look at this right now, I was able to use toys that Grayson has and add them to the image. And, you know, it adds a bit of colour, it makes it more comfortable. The parents know what the toy is. It could have been given to them by a family member. It's relevant. It means something. Going to a studio and just having like toys which the photographer has, I don't think that's as nice. You know, you want something personal. And shooting somewhere that's comfortable, that not just for you, but for the baby and the parents is very important, I think. Tip number 4, and this is almost the biggest one for me, is to shoot the baby in neutral colours. Now, I know a lot of people buy these really elaborate, like, baby grows and all these different types of outfits. Get rid of them. Shoot the baby in white. Now, the reason I say this is because not only does white give a very pure and natural look, it doesn't have some kind of branding on it, there's not some kind of image or logo. Another thing as well is if you add a texture or a weird pattern, you may get a weird moire in the image, which you don't want. It can be removed in post, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's just something you don't want. So stick the baby in something neutral and white. Not only does it look more natural, it looks more pure, it also means you can add colour to the image without taking away from the baby. You focus on the baby's face, it's not wearing a contrasting colour or something that clashes. Stick the baby in something white. Honestly, you'll thank me later. Finally, tip number 5, which I think is the most important, is to have fun and experiment. Now, you could go into a photography shoot with a baby and you could take it really seriously, get really stressed if things don't go right. You've got to have patience. You know the baby isn't going to be able to be controlled. You know it's going to do things which, quite frankly, you're going to wish it didn't do. It could be sick, it could be crying, it could be pooping. You don't know what it's going to be doing. You need to just make sure that you're patient and you just take photos when you can. Now, in this shoot with Grayson, I took about 500 photos. Now, funnily enough, I said to my cousin, how many photos are you expecting? Because I can't imagine taking more than like, I don't know, 20 photos. 20 photos of your baby what else can you take? It's a baby. By the end of it, 500 plus photos, 150 of which I thought were good and I sent to her. You're going to be able to take a lot of pictures, but you just need to be patient and just take whatever you can. Be as candid as you can. You can obviously set up baby photos in a studio and do these kind of more, I don't know, posy type of things. I'm not really into that kind of thing. If you're someone who wants to just go take some pictures of a baby, relative or friend or whoever has asked you to do these pictures, approach it in the most relaxed way possible. Like I said, be patient, have fun, and experiment. It's a chance to try something new if you haven't done it before. I really enjoyed the experience. For me, coming back from it and looking at all the pictures and thinking, you know what, I did a pretty good job. I'm really happy with them. And, you know, I hope my cousin is as well. But yeah, so that's my kind of 5 top tips and going through my experience. It was really fun doing these pictures of Grayson, and hopefully you can see from the images that, you know, he was having a little bit of fun as well. So hopefully you guys found this video useful. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to be posting more photography tips, tricks, videography videos and stuff on this channel. So if you've enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.